Good morning, everyone. Took my gum out this time. I chew gum, or I usually eat sunflower seeds. I don't know. Might be that ADHD in me, but I've always got to be doing something. And plus, my breath stinks sometimes. I had coffee before I left the house. So yeah, that explains the gum chewing. I'm sorry for everyone that bothers very deeply. But yeah, we got a pretty straightforward morning today. We're gonna go do a grease run. So usually when I do a grease run, I try and hit up as many restaurants as I can fit into my truck. So that means today I'm pumping out 3 restaurants, and they should equal out pretty close to around 2,000 gallons. When we pump these out, I open up the lids, start pumping, and then I hose down everything. I want to make sure that we get this grease trap clean. Now it doesn't have to look brand new, but I do my best to make sure, you know, I get it as clean as I possibly can with our vacuum and the water. So pulling up to this one, it's in the drive-through, which is kind of funny, but when these are in the drive-through like this, I have to show up either before they open or after they close, or else I'm going to be blocking the drive-through. Plus it smells really bad, and you know, that's the last thing you want to smell when you go to you know, get something to eat for lunch, is smell that rancid grease. So I'm going to do my best to get in and out, make sure these are nice and clean, and then be on my merry little way. Woo! Gotta love it. Oh yeah, lovely. All right, so this one is pretty small. So I usually don't have to bring out the crust buster on this one. It does get pretty chunky at the bottom, you'll see. But yeah, I mean, the vacuum and some water is enough to get this one done. Stick that down, let it eat. Get it away. Let me get mine. This is something you always want to carry out in the field. There's a water key. You want to take a look in there? This isn't like a traditional water hose where, you know, you just turn it off. You have to stick the water key in there to open this up. All right, so we got water. Look at all that yummy goodness down there. You know what's bad? I've been doing this a while now. I can actually tell what they've been cooking. Throw some water in there.
Look at that.
You know what that is? That's batter. It sinks to the bottom. To me, like any place, like a bakery or a place that uses a lot of breading, the grease, it all sinks to the bottom. All right, now I'm gonna move it over here. I'm gonna grab this. Okay, we got most of the big stuff. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna rinse down everything with the hose and head out. Now I'm gonna turn off the water. The good thing about using one of these, I can turn that off, unscrew this, and then I just have it running. While I turn this off. That way it doesn't spray me in the face. Okay, unscrew that. Get whatever water fell in there. Get these caps back on. Head out. Alright, so let me pull the hose out. Get this lid back on. Get my water hose. Make sure I don't forget any of my little tools. And if you haven't gotten some of these yet, I highly recommend them. When you're dealing with like restaurant grease traps or customers with, you know, really well manicured lawns, last thing you want is something dripping on their yard. So these make it easy to pull the hose if you need to, and they also stop these from leaking when you're carrying them. All right, so I mean, simple enough, you see. These grease traps, thankfully in this county, they have to be pumped out every 3 months. So usually with the crust buster, you know, I like to kind of work it in the middle and work my way down. The only problem is when you have these tanks with ribs, you run the risk of that prop hitting that. So I mean, that's one reason I don't run it on this specific tank. And that just goes to show you, I mean, for residential septic tanks, most of the time I do run the crust buster every time. And the reason being is because, you know, you have that floating layer. That's the main thing you see. But what you don't see is all that sludge at the bottom. So when you just stick your hose in and start pumping, when you get to the bottom, you're gonna have sludge all around the bottom of the tank and all around the edges. So then you're either gonna have to back flush or you're gonna have to run a ton of water. I learned that the hard way. When I saw one, it looked like it had no floating crust, and then by the time I got to the bottom, I was like, oh, okay, well now I have to, you know, go back flush. So what I started doing now on residential tanks, even if it doesn't look like it's gonna be that bad, I go ahead and run the crust buster, stir up everything, the top, the middle, the bottom, and then by the time I get to the bottom, I just have to lightly rinse it with the water hose. Grease traps, they're a different animal, and it depends on what you're doing. You know, I was telling you when I was pumping that out, I've been doing this so long, I can almost tell what they're cooking inside the restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and you see just huge floating chunks of grease, I mean, that's your standard restaurant, you know. That could be Italian food, Mexican food, American food. But the thing that is different is when you go to these and it doesn't look like they have a lot floating up top, there's a lot at the bottom. It's places where they use dough. So, you know, pizza, bread, bakeries, even if you're like, you know, breading chicken, you're breading things to fry them a lot. When you wash those dishes, they still have that breading on there. So that eventually works its way into the grease trap and it sinks to the bottom and makes it so sticky. And it stinks. Oh my goodness, it stinks. It must be the yeast or whatever they've been putting down there. I don't know, but whew, probably some of my least favorite grease traps to pump out. If I had to put stank on a tier list, I would say S tier stank, without a doubt, grease traps. 100% grease traps. They smell the worst. There's no way around it. It stinks. A tier stank, probably RV holding tanks. You know, in an RV, you're just using the restroom inside the tank. Very little water is making it in there. It's not flowing out. There's no bacteria culminating. It stinks. It smells terrible, especially here in Texas when everybody's camping and it's like 110 degrees. That thing ferments. Oh my goodness, when you pop open that that tank, it'll burn your nostril hair. And then, I mean, you know, B tier, C tier stink, septic tanks, they don't really smell that bad. If there's something, you know, if we run into a septic tank that does smell bad, there's something going on. They're maybe pouring a lot of grease, or maybe, you know, somebody's putting something down there that they shouldn't, aka wipes. And, you know, the bacteria, natural enzymes inside of the septic tank have a hard time doing their job when you have all that interference from wipes, female products, things like that. Woo! But yeah, excuse the rant, you know. Man, I was in and out. How long did that take, babe? Less than 10 minutes? Less than 10 minutes, yeah. I'm efficient, quick and efficient. All-star right here. But yeah, that does it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you smash that like button. If you have any questions, drop it down in the comment section down below. And as always, I appreciate y'all watching. Remember, smells like money. Peace.